Tonight on the Final Play. While the Saints defense capitalizes on its chances, Drew Brees is left scratching his head.
It was a rough day. Probably one of the rougher days I've had in a long time, maybe ever.
With a trip to New England for practice and play this week, we're taking an in-depth look at the crowded backfields on offense and defense, as well as the instant impact we're seeing from this offseason's free agent additions. Saints Hall of Famer and radio analyst Deuce McAllister joins us to break it all down.
The improvement that they've had here in West Virginia has to go up to Boston.
Plus, college football camps are underway. See how each squad in South Louisiana is shaping up.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, brought to you by Southern Quality Ford Dealers and Oceana Grill.
Good evening and welcome to the Final Play, where I don't know about you, but we are thrilled to be just days away from live football action. The Saints, along with the rest of the NFL and its fans, are more than ready for Thursday. But until then, the Black and Gold continue to fine-tune their craft, putting the right players in the right positions and trying to bring some of their talented but younger standouts up to speed. For a full recap of everything from Week 2 at the Greenbrier, here's Juan Kincaid.
As we watch the second weekend of Saints training camp come to a close, we can't help but acknowledge two things that have stood out the most: Drew Brees' play and how the Saints defense has had an effect on his play.
It was a rough day. It's probably one of the rougher days I've had in a long time, maybe ever, in a training camp practice especially.
The day that Brees is referring to is Saturday, when he threw a once unheard of 4 interceptions in practice. Yes, 4. Count them yourself. 2 to rookie Ken Crawley, 1 to Eric Harris, and the final 1 to James Laurinaitis, who returned it for a touchdown. The song "Mama Said There'd Be Days Like This" comes to mind on a day like this for Brees.
Some of them bad luck, some of them anticipating where the ball should be, and for whatever reason it gets tipped, or just not quite the execution that we hope for. The one at the end shouldn't happen. That's a critical mistake. You need to avoid those. So those are frustrating, but I'm glad I'm getting them all out of the way right now.
Brees' misfortune kept the shade off a Saints defense that's been very opportunistic this camp. The 4 picks you just saw were the latest in a handful of interceptions by a unit that's had some harking back to the 2009 year, when the words opportunistic and Saints defense went hand in hand. Only difference is this unit is full of young guys still trying to find their way. Crawley, Harris, Jimmy Pruitt, P.J. Williams, Devontae Harris, all trying to eventually play in their first NFL game come this fall. All approaching this training camp the same way, by leaning on the one guy that was in their shoes just 1 year ago.
Well, I'm starting to see a lot of young guys come up and ask me about the game, and is it fast, is it slow? So I just try to give them the pointers I had from last year. And it's kind of becoming a leader role, but I always take it slow. I always feel like we're one, so it's pretty cool though.
And in the continued absence of an injured Keenan Lewis, Bro's done such a good job of leading by example that Peyton proclaimed early in camp that some of these rookies are going to make this team in the secondary. Cornerback will be one of the hardest positions to cut. Same goes with running back, where if you look past Mark Ingram and C.J. Spiller, you see a logjam of young talent that somehow, some way, will have to play itself out.
The elements of the position would be, their ability to run, catch, how do they block the blitz, and what kind of value do they have in the kicking game. So all of those elements contribute to it, and then the exposure, we get a chance to see that in the preseason games or the scrimmages or at practice, but those would be the things that we would look at closely.
And the eyes don't lie on this group. There's variety in every one of them: speed, balance, power. These NFL kids, Daniel Lasco, Marcus Murphy, Travaris Cadet, they all have it. Sprinkle in Tim Hightower and you've got experience, and it makes you wonder, how will it all play out?
So you take, Cadet and Lasco and Marcus Murphy and some of these guys that, listen, they're making plays. They're taking advantage of the opportunities that are being given to them, and so it's good. It's good to see that. I mean, guys are competing. Guys are, playing with a lot of toughness and heart.
I came here to be a running back, and but right now I'm trying to focus on getting on this team.
You just gotta try to be as complete as you can be in all phases of the game. You kind of know yourself better than most people do, as far as your coaches or whatnot, but it's just about what you put on film and what you do to put the team in the best situation to win.
These guys, man, they're coming in, they're young, and it seems like the talent level is getting better every single year. They're 225. They're running 4.3s, and it's hard not to look at guys and, you know, just from a physicality standpoint and not get, you know, you're amazed at just the development, how quickly guys are developing these days. And so first and foremost, I have to look at myself and who am I? What's my skill set? What are the things that I bring to the table? What are my intangibles that make me stand out? And then I look at it from the other standpoint of that you never can get complacent.
Which brings me back to Breeze, who, following his Saturday of giving, said this.
I'm able to turn the page very quickly.
We shall see, because it's one thing to have this kind of day against the guys that see you every day, but it's quite another for it to carry over into this week's practices against the Patriots.
The part that bothers me is if there's an error made that you just say, you know, that shouldn't happen. I've played enough football. I know the situation. That mistake can't happen.
So here's how the upcoming week plays out. The Saints will practice in West Virginia tomorrow morning before departing for New England, where Tuesday they'll begin joint practices with the Patriots. Then on Thursday, the night we've been counting down to, preseason game number 1 that you can watch exclusively right here on Fox 8, with our coverage beginning at 6 p.m. For some insight on what to expect, let's head back to the Greenbrier and Juan.
So when the Saints opened the preseason on the road at New England August 11th, the guy in the booth with our colleague Jim Henderson, you know Deuce McAllister, former Saint. And Deuce, we talk about running backs first because you know obviously so much about that, having played the position on all levels. This team seems to have a number of options at that situation, but a lot of those guys are young. It's muddled with young players.
Yeah, I think it gives you a lot of different options, you know, whether it's packages that you want to put together or, you know, something specific. You know, any running back, the one thing that he wants to be is complete. And when I say that, you know, that's just not being a runner on first and second down. That's being a pass receiver or a protector on third. And, you know, when you talk about those young running backs, that's what they have to do on third downs. And, you know, we've saw some different drills where they've competed and did some different things. So it's just getting those reps and getting better at it.
Any one of those guys stood out to you?
Well, I think, you know, they've had different days. You know, Lasco has done really well in the running and, you know, just maybe picking up the blitz in different situations. And then Murphy will catch your eye, you know, being a receiver out of the backfield. And then, you know, here comes Cadet, you know, and he'll hit with either a screen or, you know, just making a play on a draw. So, you know, there's different attributes that they all have. But, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how the preseason games go along.
We know the order that the running depth chart goes. It really is Mark Ingram and probably C.J. Spiller, who is a guy that's come back for his second year with the Saints, and he calls himself the Thriller now because he's looking like a completely different player to finish the year with them.
Well, I think that's the confidence that he has, and, you know, I still have confidence in him. I mean, because I saw what he not only did at Buffalo, but I saw what he did at Clemson, just being a running back myself, and, you know, the guy's really explosive, and if he can be healthy for this team, he can really give them a dimension that they hadn't had probably since, you know, Sproles was, you know, since we lost Sproles. So he can be a guy that can be a running back, he can be a receiver, but, you know, he can open up so much more for Mark, and he's just got to stay healthy.
If there is a concern injury-wise, it's in that secondary, and your guy that was supposed to be opposite of Delvin Breaux is Keenan Lewis. He comes back for one practice, doesn't come back again, and so we're concerned about what's going on with that, whether or not he's getting a second opinion, whether or not he's going to be back with his team in training camp. Your concern level with that?
Not too high yet. You know, if he continues to miss and not be here for even the walkthroughs, then you have to get a little bit worried just because he missed time last year, you know, and at least we know somewhat what's going on with Armstead. You know, right now with Keenan, we really don't know because we don't see him, you know, outside for just one day. So right now you're okay. The young guys can get some reps. They can get some looks. You know, one of the guys, P.J. Williams, has looked outstanding, you know, just being able to get those reps. But, you know, the more times that he's away, the more time that he missed, you have to kind of question and wonder, hey, look, what's going on?
One last thing. As they go to New England on Monday and start practice on Tuesday, obviously you want to see some carryover. What does Sean Payton need to see from his team in those practices leading up to the first preseason game?
Those young guys have to step up. You know, the improvement that they've had here in West Virginia has to go up to Boston, you know, and it's competing. It's competing every play, not just at the end of the day, go back and watch film. Those guys have to go out and compete every play and show that, hey, look, you know, we're a pretty good team too.
Very good. Saints Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister joining us here on the Final Play. Deuce, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And following the Patriots game Thursday, we'll also be carrying the following 3 preseason matchups. Saturday, August 20th, the Saints face the Texans in Houston. They return home on the 26th, where the Black and Gold host the Steelers. The Saints close the preseason at home against the Ravens on September 1st. More Saints talk coming right up. free agent additions are getting comfortable in quick fashion, while former Saints are finding new homes. See which Super Bowl champions will be returning to the Dome this fall wearing different colors.
Watching the Final Play.
We've spent a lot of time talking about the progress of the Saints rookies and how much they can contribute either now or in the not too distant future. But there's just as much pressure on the other new additions to the roster via free agency. With league experience, they're expected to contribute immediately. Sean Fazand examines how they're fitting in with the black and gold so far.
Shopping on the open market of NFL free agency can be a tricky proposition. It's easy to get wowed by the flashy names on the market. The Saints themselves have done this before. But with limited cap space this offseason, they decided to go bargain hunting. Their money bought them a 5-player class of tight end Kobe Fleener, linebackers James Laurinaitis, Craig Robertson, and Nate Stupar, and defensive tackle Nick Fairley.
Each one of those guys, you try to have a vision for how they're going to impact your team, and be it, we haven't started playing games yet, but all of them are finding their opportunities when we're in these sessions.
Fleener required the biggest investment, 5 years, $37 million. The return has already begun, particularly in the last week, where his growing chemistry with Drew Brees has led to multiple big plays.
Hopefully we're better tomorrow than we were today, and that kind of cliche. I think that just comes with time, and I think, as I've said before, Drew has made my transition here so easy because of how skilled he is.
Laurinaitis has spent most of his time as the first-team middle linebacker, properly aligning a defense that's been feisty and fast. Stupar had the label of being a special teamer, but has shown he can be more. He's gotten several reps at all 3 linebacker spots. Robertson has been impressive, particularly in pass coverage, where he's already picked off Drew Brees once and had a noticeably high amount of pass breakups.
I feel like camp's been going good for me, but, I still have a lot of room for improvement and, gaining the trust from my teammates. So that's just my biggest thing for myself.
But the biggest bargain of all may very well be Fairley. Signing for what amounts to a 1-year, $3 million contract, Fairley has been a major disruptor along the interior of the defensive line. For Fairley, the knock against him was desire, as in how bad does he truly want to succeed? If the first 9 practices are any indication, the answer is a lot.
I'm here as a Saint, and I'm ready to go, and I'm here to play for this team.
Oh, you might have a preconceived notion as to what you think a personality would be like, and his is much different. And I would say when the visit ended, I felt better about this guy and in regards to his desire to play on a team that he felt like could win.
And that's been the common theme for all 5 players. They want to play for an organization that can win while the organization needs them to become that way. It's still too early to tell if the offseason plan has worked, but at the very least, they're off to a good start. With the Saints at the Greenbrier, I'm Sean Fazand for the Final Play.
Of course, free agency works both ways. And for all the players the Saints brought in, they had to let a few go, and they've since found new teams. In the case of former receiver Lance Moore, who left New Orleans in 2014, he landed with the Falcons. The move to Atlanta comes after 1 season in Pittsburgh and another in Detroit, where he totaled 6 touchdowns between them. He'll likely be fighting for the 3rd spot on the depth chart in ATL. Meanwhile, another member of the 2006 class that brought in so many memorable Saints heads to Seattle. Longtime guard Jari Evans signed with the Seahawks yesterday and joined them on the practice field already today. The Saints let go of the 33-year-old 6-time Pro Bowler in February. He joins the Seattle O-line looking for a lot of stability. Moore and Evans join the likes of Brandon Browner and Jimmy Graham, also with the Seahawks, on the growing list of notable former Saints who returned to the Dome in 2016 in different colors. There's no doubt that those 2 games against Atlanta and Seattle will be heated, to say the least. And speaking of bringing the heat, the Final Play has gone digital. Be sure to download the new Fox 8 Final Play app from your app store to get instant analysis, daily video blogs, and so much more. Still to come, more football as we switch to the college game for reports from LSU and Tulane.
Final Play.
Take a look at last year's rosters of teams like Alabama, Ole Miss, and Arkansas, all of which beat up on LSU a year ago. And the thing that stands out most is how many veterans they had in key positions. Since 2014, in their second-ranked recruiting class, including Leonard Fournette, Malachi Dupree, Jamal Adams, and more, for better or worse, the Tigers have been pretty young all over the field. But now the tables could be turning as LSU brings back 18 starters, 13 of which are juniors or seniors. The pressure, like the heat in Baton Rouge right now, as high as ever.
And we know what we're capable of. We know the talent that we have, and it's just all about us coming together and putting it together, and just becoming one.
And that's the major key, putting it together. Because for years, the Tigers have heard about how talented they are, how good they are on paper, and what they should accomplish. And for years, LSU's fallen short of their expectations. But with returning starters who are primarily juniors and seniors, the time is now.
We don't want everybody to talk about how much talent we have and not go out there and win. It just doesn't look good on any of us. So biggest thing for us is to not talk about how good we are, how talented we are, but go out there and work every day to become better.
To become better and reach their goals, it could boil down to the one part of the Tigers' offense that's been one of their biggest question marks since Zach Mettenberger departed in 2013, the passing game.
Everybody does say that's our weakness, and that is what needs to improve. And I would say we could have did a better job at it, and I feel like we will and definitely have improved. So going into the fall, I know we want to be balanced and have a great rushing attack, which we have, and be just as dangerous in the passing game, and I feel like we will be.
When it comes to Brandon Harris at quarterback, the physical tools have always been there, the big arm and the mobility to escape pressure. The biggest hurdle remaining is mental, which Harris took a major step forward with in 2015. In terms of confidence, he couldn't ask for much more. He has one of the tallest groups of wide receivers in the country, with the likes of Malachi Dupree and some of their younger additions. And behind Harris is a stable of running backs. They're led by Heisman hopeful Leonard Fournette, of course.
We out here. Still have a season on the way.
But as we've seen in the past, many are capable of producing even with limited touches.
It could be me, Darryl, Nick, Leonard. Every one of us has to contribute in a way whenever we get in. It could be blocking, it could be play action, it could be running. We all have to do what we got to do when we get in, or we're going to come right back out.
That's the attitude the entire offense seems to be taking to become the unit that their potential says they can be.
The biggest thing is, as a group, the quarterback position and the receiver position, in the running back room, everybody's more mature. So everybody embraced the role of, getting better individually and then coming together as a collective group and, putting that all together and improving the passing game as a whole.
Because make no doubt about it, this team looks to Harris as a leader. The Tigers are as loaded as they can be, but they'll only go as far as number 6 takes them.
We count on him. He's the unheard leader of the team, so, he knows what's at stake. He knows what's expected, and, we expected to win a national championship, and so we're going to do, go into practice every day with that approach.
Still to come, we're working our way around Louisiana. Up next, Tulane and Southeastern as we count you down to the season openers.
You're watching the Final Play.
When it comes to Tulane's quarterbacks, not much is known. Glenn Couillet, Darius Bradwell, and Jonathan Brantley all have a chance, but who will be the starter? That's unknown. What is known is what head coach Willie Fritz wants from his signal callers.
When it's time for them to run the football, they got to put their foot in the ground and get vertical and have contact courage and get north and south and be a running back. When our quarterbacks are running it, I want to think that Dontrell Hilliard's running the ball. That's what we're looking for.
The trio of QBs can certainly move the chains with their feet, but mimicking a running back remains up for debate. As the saying goes, iron sharpens iron, and with not two quarterbacks with similar talents, the eventual starter will have certainly earned their spot.
I like the challenge. I feel confident in my group of quarterbacks. I think we're just as good as the running backs when it comes down to running. but we both love each other. We just going to do everything it takes to win.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're fast as us, but, you know, I feel like, you know, what he's trying to say is, you know, he wants everyone to be fast. He wants them to make big plays just as we do.
Yeah, man, Sherman, that's a hard one to copy. I mean, he's a hard one to copy, so, but I'm going to do my best to get my best impersonation of him when I'm running.
The Wave hope any early struggles to score can be offset by a defense that's relatively unchanged, both in scheme and personnel. 5 of the team's 6 tacklers from 2015 are back in the mix. If they can add some ball-hawking results, then suddenly defense turns into offense.
I feel like we can help them a lot because they're running the ball a lot. You said 40 times a game. They're running the ball a lot. So the quicker we get the offense off the field, the faster they score.
You know, we've got a lot of veterans on defense. I don't see any reason why we can't have a very good defense.
The margin for error will be razor thin uptown, which is why Fritz needs his guys to sweat the small stuff in camp right now. Protecting the ball, hustling on and off the field, and lining up correctly. It's all part of the disciplined mindset being preached.
Organization, structure, you know, for us to win, we got to pay attention to the small details and do the little things right. You know, we got to change. We got to be a more disciplined team. I talk to these guys all the time about the Wave not beating the Wave. You know, pre-snap, post-play penalties, you know, it kills you. Those are penalties that anyone can call, you know. My wife's going to be sitting right up there. She can call, you know, 2 guys in motion at the same time. And, you know, it's not Canadian League football. So, you know, we've got to make sure that, you know, we're not beating ourselves. And that's part of who plays. Guy makes a lot of pre-snap penalties. We can't play him.
Like Tulane, Southeastern has a bit of a QB competition on their hands as well. Senior Deshae Lander returns as the presumed starter, but will likely be tested by backups Donovan Isom and Justin Allo. Lander was the starter in 2015, but suffered a number of injuries that limited his playing time. But either way you cut it, the quarterback position has to improve from a year ago if they want to take back their Southland Conference title.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him a lot. You know, again, you know, I think there was some nice things. There were some nice throws. There's some good decisions. You know, again, there's just like any position, there's some mistakes there. We got to get better at on a day-to-day basis.
And with that, we're a week closer to the much-anticipated start of the season. Tulane will get things going for Southeast Louisiana teams when they open the season on a Thursday night at Wake Forest. LSU plays on national television on the opening Saturday at Lambeau Field against Wisconsin, while Southeastern makes the trip to Oklahoma State. Nicholls State's schedule starts in week 2 against Georgia. So much to look forward to this season from Louisiana football, and we're just getting started. For Juan, Sean, Garland, Edwin, and John, happy game week and have a great night.
The Final Play was brought to you by Southern Quality Ford Dealers and Oceana Grill.